Let's go to London and speak to Sydney Calkin, who's a senior lecturer in human geography at Queen Mary University of London. Sydney, thank you so much for your time. When I was told that I was going to be interviewing you, I was thinking about how to couch questions to you, and I realized that almost every way that I can ask a question is going to lead you down a certain way. So I'm just going to open with, give me your general thoughts about what happened with the Supreme Court in this decision.
Sure. Personally, I'm very disappointed in the ruling. A draft of this ruling leaked in May, and so this isn't entirely surprising. The ruling that has been officially published yesterday adheres pretty closely to the leak that we saw a few months ago. So we knew this was coming, but yeah, personally, I think it's a grave error, and it's going to have huge, really harmful consequences for the country.
I think the size of the consequences are noticeable when you look at how many different areas of our lives that this covers. There's a legal issue, there's a question of equality, there's the health issue. It's almost a question, as the UN has been saying, of the basic human rights of a woman to choose what she does with her body. How is such a philosophical issue about how a human being makes decisions about their own body been so affected by the legal argument, and a legal argument that isn't even universally popular in the United States?
I mean, there's so many different ways to answer that question. I think that what the court has done is to use its kind of originalist methodology to look at the Constitution. And what the court has said is that there's no constitutional right to abortion in the Constitution, and there's no constitutional right to abortion that we could draw from looking at kind of history and tradition. I think that that's a shame. I think that that's the wrong way to look at this question. As you say, it's a profound question about gender equality. As to how it's become so politicized in the U.S., I mean, Roe v. Wade was established in 1973, and ever since then, there's been a very well-organized and sustained political movement on the right to overturn Roe. This has been the work of, generations of politicians and anti-abortion activists. With the current composition of the court, they've been able to overturn that ruling that they've been working so long to do.
And in terms of equality, I mean, you'd never get anybody saying to a man, look, if you don't want a baby, don't get pregnant. It's only ever said to a woman, and of course, only a woman can have an abortion. And that's why so many women around the United States, as well as men, are saying, look, we need to protest until this thing is overturned. But in terms of economic equality, Sydney, what does this do for poorer women compared to the resources that richer women have if a richer woman and a poorer woman both want to have an abortion?
It's a good question, because fundamentally, abortion is a question of economic justice. We know that even under Roe versus Wade, when abortion had those constitutional protections, it still was the case that the people who faced the biggest obstacles to accessing abortion were poorer people. And that's because even under Roe, the ability to access abortion really depended on where in the country you lived, what were the conditions in your state, how far did you live from a clinic. So even when abortion was constitutionally protected, it could be very expensive and very, very difficult to access. That's only going to be magnified, as your reporter just showed with that map that demonstrated how a state like Illinois is suddenly going to be seeing a huge influx of people traveling. Obviously, traveling, very expensive. A lot of insurance doesn't cover abortion. People have to pay out of pocket. Government insurance for low-income people doesn't cover abortion. So it's a huge economic burden.
Sydney, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Sydney Calkin in London.